Hello, my Mudfossil friends. Today, little outer space Roger talking about meteorites and where they come from, what they are. Everybody thinks, oh, a meteorite. Yep, well, we all know it's a rock that comes out of space. You know, they're iron and so forth. Well, there's something to be said for that, but there is a lot of other conditions, and there are a lot of other objects that come out of space. They call meteorites, and they're not just iron. And I'm going to tell you right now, let's just start right from the scratch. I'll hit you with the big one right up front. They are biological. Now, how can I say that? Well, I'm going to show you how I can say that. All right, a meteorite, a solid piece of debris from an object such as a comet, asteroid, meteoroid, originates in outer space. It's all the same stuff. Everything that's coming through space, asteroids, comets, meteorites, it's all the same thing. Just one is staying out there and never coming into space, and one is floating by us, and one comes right into our atmosphere and collides with the Earth. Now, what happens when it comes into the atmosphere? I'm saying all this stuff is biological, and then I'm going to show you the proof of it, so don't say, oh, the guy's crazy. Well, we'll find out who's crazy. I'm going to show you the proof of what I'm saying, and I am saying it's biological. So let's start with the beginning. All right, this is about Comet 67P, and they did a mission, they called it the Rosetta mission. It was a European Space Agency, and I believe working with NASA, primarily a European Space Agency, sent up this lander. It was called the Philae lander, and it landed on this Comet 67P, which they've been following for a while. And I've been following it since they first discovered this comet, a long time. And they decided they were going to go out and look at it. And they did. And it was very interesting, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I'll show you what it is. I have many videos on this. And then they ended up doing all of this analysis and checking all of the molecules and the chemistry and so forth, and then they crashed the lander and destroyed it. Now, what did they find out? Complex organic molecules, mixtures mostly carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, exactly like us, form the basis of our biology. Exactly the same. Look, it comes down here, it says, whoops, our analysis reveals carbon in a far more complex form than expected. This fellow here, Cotton, says a co-author on a new study said in a statement, it's so complex we can't give it a proper formula or name. It's life. That is life. That's life. You see this? This iron, that is the signature of blood. That's the signature of blood. You see this? Hydrocarbons, that's the signature of cell membranes. When this thing would come through the atmosphere, it will burn up. This will make it extremely fired, and you'll end up with iron. You'll smelt. Now I'm going to show you what happens. All right, this is a meteorite, and that is all the different airways in the lung. It's smelted, and just I told you, the hydrocarbons would make it extremely hot and would turn it into iron, smelt just like in a furnace. Now, when I say all these holes here, well, they're the same holes you see in here, which is a lung that didn't come through the atmosphere. Although I do have meteorites here, and I'm going to show them to you that do come through the atmosphere. I have them with blood in them. You could test them right now. I've looked at it in the microscope, and there's blood in them. Now, but this is what happens to them. This was in acid or something. This was it ate out all of the organic stuff, but it left the scaffolding. And you see here, you see that red stuff here? It's the same thing. That's iron in there. But this one didn't get smelted. But it's all in there. That red stuff is the same thing that you're looking at, only it's not smelted yet. Now, I'm going to show you some other ones, because every single one I have seen, every single one, not one exception, zero exceptions to this. You show me a meteorite, and I will tell you what kind of a thing it was. Well, I can do the best I can. It depends on how torn up it is and melted and everything. Because I have one here that I'm not sure what it is, but I know it's a meteorite. So anyway, we're going to go through them. Let's go. There's blood all over these meteorites. There's a meteorite cut in half, and then they etch it with acid. That's why it has all that crystal looking stuff. You see this here? That's the artery, the red artery. That's red blood. I can guarantee you, I couldn't possibly imagine that there's not DNA in there. And there is the vein, the black side. There's no big mystery here. Now, what happens with blood, there's a process called chelation. It's spelled with a CH. I say chelation. It's CH, chelation. Let's call it that. You can find it easier that way. Now, what does it mean? What is chelation? Chelation. Whatever. I hate these different pronunciations. I like to spell. You don't say childish. You say childish. It's not C. CH is ch. All right. So anyway, they pronounced it wrong. I'm pronouncing it right. Chelation. So that is chelated, and the molecules of blood are in metal complexes. Just follow me. This is simple. It's really simple. They're little balls of metal just stuck into a couple other molecules. All right, that's all. That's in there. And what's in there is in the DNA and the hemoglobin and all that business is all stuck together with your DNA codes in there. So let's say it's a little baseball. So what happens to that baseball? Why would that baseball survive here and not explode and burn up like you would expect? Well, the molecular formula of that is set up in such a way that it can get wrapped around with these things they call ligands. And they're little molecules that attach all the way around the little blood ball, the little ball of blood. All right, and they wrap right around it like a plastic bag. And they protect it, and they, like a thermos. I'm just telling you, they survive. Trust me. I've got 3 DNA tests on the ancient protocols. Absolutely no question. There's blood coming. I have blood gushing out of things out of here. So, and that would too. These things are loaded with blood. Every one of them. Every single one I found. I can find because every body part is going to be supplied with blood. That's just the way it works. Cannot deny that. So, what do you have to do? You have to find that signature. You don't find that signature, you have no claim. Once you find that signature, you can make a claim. And that's what I do. I don't make claims without the signatures. And I have the signature. I understand the signature. I understand the chemistry. I understand the process. I understand how it happened. I understand salt water preservation and why it destroys bones and doesn't destroy tissues. There's a lot to this. There's a chemistry, there's anatomy, there's biology, there's, atomic invasion and nucleophilic invasions and, all kinds of things. There's fancy little names, but what it boils down to is there's a process when something dies, it decomposes. If it's in certain conditions, it decomposes one way. If it's in other conditions, it decomposes another way. If it's in the dirt and dust, it rots and gets eaten by all kind of little bugs and things, and you end up with scraps and little bits of bones. Now, if it dies in a saltwater flood and is completely waterlogged with salt water, just like they used to preserve fish and all that stuff in salt, it preserves the tissues. It doesn't preserve the bones. The bones become invaded by that salty water on a continuously it's continuously in this bucket of ocean of water, continuously being soaked, and the stuff is moving through solutions and so forth, and all that organic matter goes away. You end up with a waterlogged flesh. And it preserves that way. Once it dries out, it preserves. Now, if they end up being stuck inside the mud and covered over with the mud, sometimes they will preserve in a manner. It's absolutely amazing. No difference from when it was alive. Absolutely none. Zero. But it's hard. It's become invaded, but you would never know it. It's become invaded by filtered molecules. And why do I say that? Filtered molecules you end up with the finest platypolar silicates, they call it. They're muds. Platypolar silicates. They're like flat little plates against each other, almost like shingles. And what's going to get through that? Almost nothing. What is going to get through is the smallest of all molecules, the OH, H2O. These are the tiniest molecules. And that's why water is your universal solvent. It can go into almost anything because it's so small. It's just walking around saying, hey, what kind of doors open for me? I'm just a little guy who walked through here. But you get these big molecules, boop, they bump into things. And there's barriers in your body too, you know, like your blood-brain barrier only allows certain size molecules in there. But now we got nanomolecules and micromolecules. They're going right through there. Kids are getting them. There's a placental blood barrier too. That's all being invaded. Kids are being born with 250 different toxins in their body. Not supposed to be there. A lot of things going on that people don't think they don't. Oh, we got nanoparticles. Oh yeah, we make nanobots. Yeah, that's nice. Maybe not supposed to be there. Anyway, so this is the stuff that we're looking at. There is blood in there. There's DNA in there. I'm going to close the case on this meteorites. All right, so you saw your iron meteorites. Now you got your chondritic meteorites, your stony ones. That's blood. That's blood. All the solid material in the solar system. It's amazing they come up with this stuff. That's a vein and an artery here. I'm sorry. That's what it is. And those little dots are chondrules. Those are literally the tiny little interstitium balls that are in this heavy skin. That's what you see in there. And when that burns off coming through the atmosphere, you end up with these little dots. Those are little tendon ball things. Well, they call them interstitium now. I think they just decided to come up with a name for the stuff that's in the skin. I think they might have known about it for a long time, but not. They just recently did a thing about it. It's called interstitium. No, here it is right here. Interstitium. It's a new organ discovered in the human body after it was previously missed by scientists. It's right in the skin. You can't hardly miss it. And it's right here. That's the stuff that we were looking at. These are the little balls. After this erodes away, you can see all these little balls within the skin. This was skin out here, and it eroded the top layer. That's the balls that they're talking about. And all the little straps are gone. This is on the Earth. And Earth is everything there is was biological. I'm done hiding the fact. It's 100% biological. There's nothing that wasn't biological. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. Everything coming through space biological. The planets are biological. They were creatures. They were titans. They were gods. They were whatever they said they were. They were creatures. And guess what's on Mars? This is the surface of Mars. They call these the Mars-Morris codes. They have no idea what it is. Now, this is skin. This is skin, and this is skin stretched. Right here it's stretched, and right there it's stretched. You see how the straps are pulled, and that would come right back if it was a living, vital organ in skin. Now, why are they missing here? There's no straps. That is erosion. And what happens in erosion is, you see how fine-grained it is there? It's a fine abrasiveness. Now, the balls do not erode the way the straps do. The straps are much more fibrous, and they're elastic. Now they're not actually, well, they might be elastic. I don't know, to be honest with you. Tendons normally are not elastic. I don't think they're elastic. I think they're just flexible. You see how they're all bent and they can go back, and I think they're going to come back to that same shape. That's what gives your skin its vitality, and to keep it, you know, soft and moist and so forth. And above this, right on this, is a layer of clay. These exist in that layer of clay. That layer of clay is kaolin. You know, in most cases. Some of it there's grip skin, there's other types of skin. But the fine skins that have this kind of fine webbing like this, that I've seen in the mud fossils, usually is a very thin slip of kaolin clay over it, and that gives it and then of course there's, in the skin above this, skin itself, you know, there's hundreds and hundreds of layers of skin. Not just like a top coat and then a little of this and a little of that. No, there is hundreds and hundreds of layers. And skin ends up being mica. It ends up being mica when it finally crystallizes. And all crystals and so forth are from body fluids, because everything's from biology. And all these fluids end up being crystallizing into crystals. They mix with silicates and other different metals and so forth, give it different colors, the transition metals, and you get all of these fabulous looking crystals. And they form, and they bind together in plates and cubic forms and hexagons and all that business. That's the nature of the bonding of those particular types of molecules. That's their bond angles, they call them. So that's just the way it works. See, these are the Mars blueberries. It's the same things that I showed you on Earth. Those are more eroded than the other big structure I showed. I found everything on Mars exactly the same as it is on Earth, and exactly the same as it is on other planets. All right? And Comet 67P is a tendon antithesis. In us, it's the Achilles heel. In Comet 67P, I believe it's about 3 miles wide, something like that. I think it's 4 kilometers or something like that. It's a fairly good size heel. And these creatures, as above, so below. I'm just telling you. Iapetus, which is one of Saturn's moons, is a tendon ball. Oh, the guy's off his rocker. He's totally lost it now. Yeah, good for you. Let me show you. This came from Lily Lavender, one of our gold star contributors. Always got good stuff. That's a tendon ball, and this was skin somewhere on our Earth, and that ball invested, and this is where the straps come in, and it would have come out this way. Now, let me show you some other examples of this. Here's another one of these stone balls, but just a nice example showing how excellent those little spins are there. You see them, they're everywhere around the Earth, and some of them are absolutely enormous. I mean, gigantic. Gigantic. I'm pretty sure Chaco Canyon was a tendon ball originally at one time. It had that structure, and it has all these cavities built right into it. You see, once they erode, there's an internal structure like that. It's another Mudfossil University contributor, Lee Simpson, sent this in a long time ago, showing what happens when they deteriorate. That's just like Chaco Canyon. I mean, literally, they're everywhere. They're giant stone balls everywhere. And the Bosnian pyramids, they can say whatever they want, but the stone balls there are tendon balls. And I believe that they might have constructed something from the tendinous material that was there, because that's what they did in the past. They used this material that was attached, the fleshy parts and so forth, and the limestone, which is just nothing more than body parts. And they were wet, and that's why they all fit together so good. That's why the ones in Peru were so good. And that's tendinous material to all those walls and all that too. Saturn's moon, Iapetus. Those are the attachments that hold the tendon ball. And that's a moon. Now, I didn't make this up. This is what it is. Now, you could take it for whatever it's worth. I'm looking at it as evidence that this is a tendon ball, and the things that they said about these planets being living gods and as above, so below, I'm now taking as fact. And I'm taking battles in the heavens as fact. The dragon and the fish, that's a fact. There's no question about that. Everything that I'm reading, all about the ancient, petrifying creatures by Medusa, that's a fact. Everything was a fact. No myth. There's no myth at all. It's time to start looking at this with the little Mudfossil eyeballs, because you're just missing everything. If you're missing this, it can't be. I just can't get my mind. Oh, help! Run! Help! 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 No, there's no help for you if that's the way you feel about it, my friend.